Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. President Trump meeting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the Gaza ceasefire while issuing a strong warning to Iran. Tensions in Yemen between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. The latest moves after Saudi Arabia struck a port in Yemen with alleged UAE weapons. Tensions are rising in Asia as China continues major military drills around Taiwan, prompting warnings from Taipei about threats to regional stability. A state Senate supermajority is at stake in Iowa today. Voters head to a special election that could shift control of the chamber.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Tuesday, December 30th. I'm Paul Graney. Great to have you here. President Trump warning that the U.S. could support another major strike on Iran. That's if Tehran resumes rebuilding its ballistic missile or nuclear weapons programs after that massive U.S. strike in June. Here's what the president said after a meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister yesterday.
I hope they're not trying to build up again, because if they are, we're going to have no choice but very quickly to eradicate that buildup.
Iran said last week that it had conducted missile exercises for the second time this month.
Iran may be behaving badly. It hasn't been confirmed, but if it's confirmed, look, they know the consequences. Consequences will be very powerful.
Trump made a statement after a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. The Israeli Prime Minister said last week that he was not seeking a confrontation with Iran, but was aware of the reported exercises and said he would raise Tehran's activities with Trump. The president also said he wanted to move to the second phase of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. He urged Hamas to disarm or face severe consequences.
Well, we talked about Hamas and we talked about disarmament. And they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm. And we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay for them.
Israel and Hamas accuse each other of breaching the deal. Hamas, which has refused to disarm, has been reasserting its control as Israeli troops remain entrenched in about half the territory. Israel has indicated that if Hamas is not disarmed peacefully, it will resume military action to make it do so.
And staying in the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates says it's voluntarily withdrawing its last remaining military forces from Yemen. The UAE announced today that it has ended its counter-terrorism units in Yemen, the only remaining forces it had in the country. The move comes after Saudi Arabia bombed a southern port city in Yemen earlier in the day. Saudi Arabia says it targeted a shipment of weapons that arrived from the UAE to support separatist forces. Saudi Arabia also demanded that the UAE forces leave Yemen within 24 hours. Yemen has been at war since 2014, when the Iran-backed Houthis seized the capital. Saudi Arabia and the UAE entered the war as partners against the Houthis, but have since backed competing allies. The UAE supports the Southern Transitional Council, which seeks to restore an independent South Yemen. Saudi Arabia backs the central government and allied tribal forces. A new developments in Venezuela. President Trump said yesterday the U.S. knocked out a loading facility linked to Venezuelan drug boats sometime before December 26th. Take a look.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs. So we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
Trump says the move was part of Washington's ongoing campaign against vessels carrying narcotics to the United States. The president said the site that was hit was along the shore, but didn't say which military branch or intelligence agencies were involved in the strike. He also did not confirm that it happened in Venezuela. U.S. Southern Command says 2 people were killed yesterday in the latest U.S. military attack on an alleged drug boat. Officials say the vessel was traveling along a known narco-trafficking route and was engaged in narco-trafficking operations. This was the 30th such strike since September. Critics of the strike, such as Senator Rand Paul, have described them as extrajudicial killings. And Republicans are hoping to reclaim a state Senate supermajority in a special election in Iowa today. Voters in Iowa State Senate District 16 are choosing a replacement for Democratic Senator Claire Kelsey, who died in October. Democrat Renee Hardman is facing Republican Lucas Lofton in a race that could shift the balance of power in the chamber. Republicans currently hold 33 seats to Democrats' 17. A GOP win would restore their supermajority that was lost in an August special election. Hardman says she's focused on affordability issues like childcare, housing, and health care. Lofton is campaigning on lowering taxes and easing cost of living pressures. The district has recently swung between parties, making the outcome uncertain. And the mayor of New Orleans says the National Guard will be deployed to the city through Mardi Gras. A terror attack killed 14 people during New Year's celebrations last year when a man deliberately drove a pickup truck into a crowd of revelers in what authorities called an ISIS-inspired attack. Mayor Latola Cantrell spoke at a press briefing today.
The National Guard, as you know, are expected to be in our city and in partnership with the city through Mardi Gras. Okay, so that is something that we do know, and we absolutely are welcoming of those added resources.
City officials said nearly 800 state and federal law enforcement officials will be downtown in New Orleans' French Quarter. New Orleans police spokesperson Reese Harper said the National Guard will not be engaging in immigration enforcement. And a federal judge in California has ruled that immigration authorities may access limited Medicaid data on illegal immigrants. The ruling yesterday says federal law allows the health department to share basic biographical, contact, and location information with ICE for enforcement purposes. However, the judge blocked access to more detailed medical or benefits data, saying ICE failed to clearly justify why it was needed. More than 20 states had asked the court to block the data sharing, arguing it could discourage immigrants from seeking emergency medical care and strain state health systems. The ruling applies only to the states involved in the lawsuit and could change as the case continues. And a Texas man is facing federal terrorism charges for allegedly trying to support the ISIS terror group. The Justice Department says 21-year-old John Michael Garza Jr. attempted to provide material support to the terror group through an undercover agent. Prosecutors allege Garza shared bomb-making instructions, brought explosive components to a meeting, and sent cryptocurrency he believed would fund ISIS activities. FBI Director Kash Patel says agents identified the threat early and stopped it before anyone was hurt. Patel called the man's alleged actions radical Islamic terrorism. Garza was arrested after months of online monitoring and is now charged with attempting to support a foreign terrorist organization. And still to come, precious metals like gold and silver have had an incredible year. Our guest economist weighs in. And snow hits upstate New York as the National Weather Service issues a winter weather warning until New Year's Eve, with some areas expecting up to 3 feet of snow after the break. And precious metals like gold and silver have had an incredible year. Silver is up over 150%. Gold up over 60%, its best year since 1979. But will the good times last? With us now is Christian Briggs, CEO of Hard Asset Management. Christian, happy holidays. Great to see you as always. What do you put this incredible run down to?
Well, first of all, it's great to be back on the show and good to see you. So the biggest thing right now is that the exchanges where people actually trade physical contracts for the purchasing or the deliverable of precious metals, gold, silver being probably the biggest two, the margin requirements over the last few weeks have been slowly inching up to where traders are going to have to put up more cash to trade the same amount of money as the expensive. And some people say it's expensive. I don't think silver and gold are actually near their tops yet. But with the reality of things, they are more expensive. So margin requirements actually were required. So people who didn't have the cash had to sell. And the people who did have the cash put it up. And today we're rebounding pretty significantly from yesterday's drop. Do
you expect it to continue through 2026, Christian?
Oh, absolutely. And let me give you the fundamental reasons why. It's not really a technical thing, or it's not even emotional. It's just fundamentals. Gold is being backstopped around the world by central banks. Many people have been following a lot of the Chinese, the Russian, and other countries buying gold and by the tons. And it's never been like this before. And what they're doing is they're using gold to backstop their currency, whether it's the new digital format or it's the conventional paper currency. They're using it to backstop it to bring greater and added value.
What do you mean
Silver,
backstop,
on the other
Christian?
hand,
What does that mean?
Okay, good question. What that means is they're backstopping it to bring value. So, for example, when the United States was on a gold standard, the dollar was backstopped with gold. So for every dollar that we would have to print up till August of 71, we had to actually have an ounce of gold per on deposit at Fort Knox to actually make the dollar valuable. It wasn't just paper, it was paper backed with physical gold, 1-for-1 ratio.
But are you saying that there are nations now going back to this?
Kind of are, yes. If you look at China and Russia and the BRICS nations, they've actually introduced a gold-backed digital currency that will debut sometime in the next 12, 18 months with a 60% backing by gold. And that's actually taken a lot of value away from the dollar. You know, we've seen the dollar drop about 10 to 15% against various currencies over the last 12 to 18 months. It's actually a byproduct of countries out there using gold as more of a reserve asset or a reserve currency than they otherwise would dollars. So it's made their currencies more attractive from a stability standpoint, and number two, from a long-term asset holding, especially silver now, the way it's been used in the data centers and other things in the technology industry. They're now looking at silver as being also equivalent to gold as far as a strategic value proposition or a strategic asset.
Well, on silver, it has obviously investment uses. Christian, people buy silver coins, silver bars, whatever. As you mentioned, also has industrial uses as well. Elon Musk recently kind of sounded the alarm if China were to restrict the export or interfere with the supply chains for silver. That could impact the industrial side of the metal. Apparently, that helped boost the silver price even more.
Yeah, that's a great topic. Let's talk about that for a second. Silver in general, it's not really a huge market for silver as far as the supply side. There's only about 1 billion ounces that come to market from brand new mining operations or recirculation, or in a lot of times it's brought back by melting existing above ground quantities. So you've got about 1 billion ounces right now that come to market, but that's not enough to satisfy demand. In fact, if you look at 26 forward, there'll be about 1 billion ounces that come to market, whether it's up above ground recycling or brand new, but there's going to be at least 1.5 billion ounces needed for the technology industry. Data centers are going to need them. Chips are going to need them. You've got jewelry. You've got solar. You've got, 3 to 4 ounces of silver in the wiring in a Tesla or at least electric vehicles. The demand for silver is going to increase disproportionately to the supply side, even with new mining operations. You know, no, silver is just getting started.
So we've spoken about central banks, we've spoken about industrial uses. You're there at Hard Asset Management, Christian. Is there more of an appetite among regular retail investors for investing in precious metals like gold or silver?
Oh, absolutely. We've been in business for 40 years. We've never in the last 18 months seen the appetite for precious metals. And it's not just limited to gold and silver, which obviously have done very well. Look at the platinum group metals. Platinum and palladium are now obviously a big part of the run-up. When people ask why, well, with nuclear energy coming forward, fission and fusion are needed to be able to create that low cost, very efficient, and really clean energy of nuclear power. Well, guess what? If you don't have platinum and palladium, you're not going to have any of that. And with Trump recently talking about the fast tracking of nuclear energy permits for reactors, platinum and palladium are going to be utilized exactly in what it was meant to be, and that's the expansion both domestically and globally of nuclear energy. Like in China, they're building hundreds of nuclear facilities over the next 10 to 15 years.
It's just been an incredible run across the board, Christian. Christian Briggs at Hard Asset Management. Christian, Happy New Year. We'll talk to you soon.
You too. Thank you so much.
And Facebook parent company Meta will buy a Chinese-founded artificial intelligence startup named Manus. Meta is trying to expand access to autonomous AI agents for businesses and consumers. Meta says Manus will continue to operate its service and sell subscriptions. Meanwhile, its technology and talent are integrated into Meta's broader AI ecosystem, including Meta AI. Meta said that Manus has built one of the leading autonomous general-purpose agents. Such systems are capable of independently executing tasks such as market research, coding, and data analysis rather than respond to simple prompts. In an announcement yesterday, Meta said the decision will bring a leading agent to billions of people and unlock opportunities for businesses. The announcement reflects intensifying competition among U.S. technology companies to develop and deploy general-purpose AI agents. And big news in healthcare. The Trump administration has launched a $50 billion rural health transformation program. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the initiative, which aims to reverse decades of declining rural health services.
The Trump administration plans to distribute between around $150 million and $280 million to each state in 2026. The nationwide program is designed to improve access to medical care in rural areas and is part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The $50 billion will be spread over 5 fiscal years, making $10 billion available annually from 2026 through 2030 to all 50 states. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz unveiled the plan yesterday.
Our hope is that we all get healthier in America and no longer will allow zip code dictate our life expectancy.
Oz says the system will be audited every year.
We're going to ask you to do even better than the year before. And for the folks who do a great job, they're going to give even more money. And the folks who don't deliver what they promise, they might get some money taken away from them to give to the guys who are doing a great job. So this is a competition. America loves a competition.
Innovation takes center stage.
Already have so many brilliant ideas, from drones delivering medications to people being able to practice at the height of their licensure, like nurses and pharmacists, to robotic systems to allow us to ultrasound moms who have babies or in their belly, but they're in remote areas.
West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey applauded the Trump administration for the program, calling it a needle mover.
This is really going to allow us to help improve healthcare in rural communities, whether you're talking about diabetes or COPD, or a number of other disease states. We have a chance to get a lot of our people healthier.
Morrissey says the aim is to create a virtuous circle.
Healthier people, more productivity in the workforce, more people overall in the workforce, and then a stronger economy with a higher standard of living.
Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen reacted, saying President Trump's commitment to rural economic revitalization is real, and today's announcement is proof. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey says making America healthy again begins in rural America, and that she looks forward to being able to improve health care across the state. This rural push aligns with Trump's fiscal 2026 skinny budget for the Department of Health and Human Services. Those reforms combine multiple agencies into a new administration for a healthy America. The agency integrates rural programs and redirects any savings to Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s priorities, including environmental health, mental health services, and chronic disease prevention. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And allegations of massive fraud targeting federal programs in Minnesota continue to mount. Federal investigators now going door to door at suspected fraud sites like daycare centers. NTD's Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has the details.
Homeland Security investigators are on the ground in Minneapolis going door to door at suspected fraud sites. The department says it's looking into fraud allegedly happening at child care and healthcare facilities and other suspected sites, adding that it's working to root out what it calls rampant fraud plaguing Minnesota. And this is a multi-agency operation. On Sunday, FBI Director Kash Patel says he's surging resources to Minnesota to investigate fraud in federal programs. And he says that his department has been working working to crack down on this kind of fraud for years. But Patel says that this is just the tip of a very large iceberg. He says that many of the accused are also being referred to immigration officials for possible deportation and denaturalization. And this comes after a recent viral video put Minnesota's fraud schemes in the spotlight. Independent journalist Nick Shirley published a recent 40-minute video of him visiting multiple daycare centers with no children in sight and some even having blacked out windows. And these centers allegedly receiving millions of dollars in federal funding.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children?
Attorney General Pam Bondi took to X on Monday, saying Nick Shirley's work has helped show Americans the scale of fraud in Tim Walz's Minnesota. The Justice Department has been investigating this for months. So far, we have charged 98 individuals, 85 of Somali descent, and more than 60 have been found guilty in court. A spokesperson for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz says that the governor has strengthened oversight and launched investigations into these facilities, one of which has been closed. But for now, federal authorities say stay tuned as there's more to come out soon from these investigations. Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And Small Business Administration head Kelly Loeffler posted on X yesterday that she's pausing annual funding to Minnesota. The agency is investigating $430 million of suspected Paycheck Protection Program fraud across the state. PPP was established by the 2020 CARES Act, which Congress signed into law during the COVID-19 pandemic. We'll keep you updated. And a deadly crash between two helicopters in New Jersey has claimed another victim. Police say the initial survivor of a mid-air crash on Sunday has now died. Here are the details.
The death toll has risen to 2 after a second pilot involved in a mid-air helicopter crash in southern New Jersey died from his injuries, police said in a statement Monday. The collision happened Sunday in Hamilton, about 35 miles southeast of Philadelphia.
Spend a lot of time there, so there's not a lot of air traffic there. These pilots knew each other. They were flying in some kind of formation.
Hamilton police say 71-year-old pilot Michael Greenberg died at the scene. The pilot of the other helicopter who died at the hospital has been identified as 65-year-old Kenneth Kirsch. One witness described the horror watching the collision unfold.
I say to myself, my God, I hope they're just flying too close. I hope they don't clip each other. And the minute I said it to myself, the impact occurred.
The National Transportation Safety Board says it's investigating the crash, but one aviation safety expert has a theory about what may have gone wrong.
And so it looks to me as though there was an unintentional, of course, collision, and it looks like the main rotor on one, which crashed immediately, struck the tail rotor of the other, and the other pilot tried to maintain control. But without a tail rotor and without a lot of forward speed, it's impossible to do so. And you can see how it crashed, but it's sad to hear.
The NTSB said it sent an on-site investigator to gather flight track data, aircraft maintenance records, communications with air traffic control, witness statements, and more.
And a harsh winter storm is expected to bring strong winds and heavy snow across the Great Lakes and the Northeast today. That's after a bomb cyclone yesterday traveled across the Midwest, bringing in cold weather, leaving tens of thousands without power. A mix of rain and snow also hit parts of the Northeast, with freezing rain reported in parts of northern New York. Forecasters warn the ice could strain power lines and trees. And in Vermont, the Highway Patrol responded to 92 crashes. Overnight, the National Weather Service has issued a winter storm warning for northern New York until tomorrow. Here's more on the winter weather gripping the north and the northeast.
Winter weather continues today. More snow is piling onto existing drifts in the Great Lakes region. Forecasters say this week's totals could reach 3 feet in some areas. Many Americans across the country also face bitter cold today. That follows days of brutal storms in the northeastern quadrant of the U.S. Meteorologists say blizzard conditions made it hard to see in some Midwestern areas.
I mean, roads up here somewhere. We're just going to kind of winging it.
Officials report hundreds of accidents on affected roadways. Michigan State Police say at least 20 cars and semi-trucks were in this pileup in Detroit. Some New Englanders also are grappling with recent snow and ice up to half an inch thick. Down south, the National Weather Service says parts of West Texas had a winter storm warning last night. Even some travelers outside storm areas say they've been affected.
It got delayed, then it got canceled. Then we got a notification saying that there were no flights going in and out for 2 days. Just so many people here that are traveling, delays with the weather, going up north.
FlightAware reports more than 900 U.S. cancellations and over 9,000 delays yesterday.
I would say get to the airport on time, relax. Things get be patient. Things get complicated at times, and just be prepared for slight delays.
And still to come, Russia doubles down on its claims of an attempted attack on President Putin's residence, what a spokesman said when asked about physical evidence of the attack. And tensions are rising in Asia as China continues military drills around Taiwan, prompting warnings from Taipei about threats to regional stability. After the break. I'm Paul Graney. This is World Watch. Kyiv is accusing Russia of attacking Black Sea ports and firing at civilian ships in Ukraine's Odessa region. According to the Ukrainian Navy, 2 Panama-flagged civilian vessels were attacked by Russian drones as they tried to load wheat. A Ukrainian official says oil storage tanks were hit as well. The official accuses Russia of trying to disrupt logistics and complicate shipping. Kyiv says both affected ports are still operating despite the attacks. The West is working to end the fighting between Russia and Ukraine, with European leaders holding talks with NATO and Canada earlier today. After the talks, the Prime Minister of Poland said peace could be achieved within a matter of weeks.
Peace is on the horizon. There's no doubt things have happened that give hope this war can end, and quite quickly. But it's still hope, still far from 100% certainty.
The Kremlin said today that a Ukrainian drone attack on Putin's residence would toughen Russia's position on a possible peace deal. Kyiv denies the alleged drone attack, saying Moscow is trying to undermine the peace process. A Russian spokesman was asked if Moscow has physical evidence of the alleged drone attack. The official said that Russia shot down the incoming drones, but added that the question of wreckage should be directed at the Defense Ministry. And high-speed train operator Eurostar suspended all cross-channel train services to and from London today. The company cited a power supply problem in the Channel Tunnel linking Britain and France. It warned passengers to expect severe delays, the company saying it doesn't know when services will resume. Eurostar services from London connect to Paris, Brussels, Amsterdam, and Disneyland Paris, and the disruption hits one of Europe's busiest international rail routes during the peak winter travel season. And tensions in Asia, Taiwan accusing China of continuously undermining the international order. This after Beijing fired rockets toward the island today and deployed new amphibious assault ships alongside bomber aircraft and warships to encircle the island.
Such actions fully demonstrate that China not only fails to uphold global and regional peace and stability, but also repeatedly challenges the principles in the United Nations Charter regarding the prohibition of the use of threats and force, continuously undermining the international order and the status quo in the region.
Now, this is the second day of the communist regime's most extensive war games aimed at rehearsing a blockade. The drills are named Justice Mission 2025. They began 11 days after the U.S. announced a record over $11 billion arms package to Taiwan. They are the CCP's largest exercises to date by total coverage and proximity to the island. President Trump dismissed the CCP drills yesterday, saying they've been doing naval exercises for 20 years in that area. Meanwhile, several fighter jets from Taiwan's Air Force were seen taking off and landing at an airbase just today. And the deep-sea search is resuming for the Malaysia Airlines MH370 plane that vanished 11 years ago with 239 people on board. Exploration firm Ocean Infinity is leading the current search under a no-find, no-fee agreement. According to Malaysian Transport Ministry, if the wreckage is found, the firm will receive $70 million. It's unclear if the company has new evidence of the plane's location. And the hum of power generators running during rolling blackouts in Ukrainian cities is ever present. Residents say they're so loud they cannot hear the person next to them, but for others, they symbolize life carrying on.
The hum of power generators in Ukrainian cities has become the natural soundtrack. During blackouts, it has replaced life's familiar noises with a single, relentless whir. At certain hours, they drown out the clang of trams, the rhythm of traffic, and the laughter from playgrounds.
At certain hours, it's impossible to walk down the street without hearing their noise. What annoys me sometimes is that you can't hear the person you're walking with on the way to the shop.
In recent months, Russian forces have sharply escalated attacks on Ukraine's gas and energy infrastructure. They have struck both power plants and transmission systems. It has meant citizens in many regions have been facing rolling blackouts. Emergency power cuts and generators have become lifelines for many Ukrainians and businesses. While some describe the noise as loud and annoying, for Kyiv doctor Nadia Untila, it's positive.
It doesn't bother me at all when I wake up early and hear the generator humming. I feel happy because it means I'm alive and able to hear it.
Given what's happening on the front line, the hum of a generator instead of the sound of Christmas doesn't bother me at all.
Another Kyiv resident said even in spite of the din, it's far better to have them than go without.
It's something we can't avoid right now, and it's far better to have generators than to go without them.
Overall, it neither bothers nor disturbs me. I approach it with respect.
And medieval towers in the nation of Georgia were originally built to protect the population from invasion. But today they've earned international recognition but are falling apart. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more.
In the mountain landscape of the Caucasus, these defensive towers have survived for centuries. Mindia Charkseliani's family has lived in a local village here for hundreds of years. For him, the towers are an integral part of who he is.
It's part of our identity. This is how they lived. Our ancestors likely came here, settled, and began building. They lived alongside these towers, they struggled, and they developed. I don't know. It's their history. Their adventures are reflected in these towers. That's why we try so hard to preserve them.
The unique towers have now earned UNESCO status. Despite the protection, many residents like Charkseliani worry about the future.
In recent years, for the past 4 or 5 years, the authorities have been funding the restoration of the towers. Unfortunately, the process is very slow because only small amounts of money are allocated each year. And besides the towers, we also have traditional Svan houses, the machubi that are damaged and need attention as well.
A neighboring village has around 200 towers still standing. Zoia Charkseliani's family runs a small museum inside a 12th century building.
It's damaged. It probably can't withstand the centuries on its own. The stones crumble naturally, but it needs care. It must be maintained in time. The government should help us. They promised us, and hopefully they will fulfill this promise.
One nearby tower belongs to Aka Kiviciani's family. It's one of the best preserved and offers breathtaking views over villages and the surrounding mountains.
It is known as a tourist destination, of course. We have quite a lot of visitors. However, all this is not enough, which is the current situation. The infrastructure needs more development, the arrangement of roads, access paths, and so on. And more tourists will come and more interest will arise.
Tourism in Georgia is on the rise, with tens of thousands of visitors traveling to this mountainous region every year. At the same time, residents like Charkseliani say a surge in new construction threatens Georgia's medieval towers. He's pushing for what he calls a proper approach and a long-term, well-structured plan. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And still to come, 200 years ago, the first public railroad changed the world, and in 2025, the world marked the moment. From steam to speed, we have the story. And Shen Performing Arts is kicking off its 2026 Asian tour in Taiwan. The Taiwanese president and more than 100 officials sent their congratulations to the New York-based classical Chinese dance group. Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. The first public railroad opened 200 years ago. And in 2025, countries around the world celebrated the technological breakthrough, with NTD's Andrew Thomas with more on the journey from early steam engines to modern trains.
In 1825, a railroad in northern England would be the first stop in train travel. The Stockton-Darlington line was the first public railway to move passengers using a steam locomotive. The breakthrough helped launch rail travel across Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. 200 years later, 2025 saw the world celebrate the achievement. In Derby, a public event marked the anniversary with trains from various eras. Among them was the 1864 Palmerston that was used to haul slate in North Wales. A steam locomotive called the Flying Scotsman, one of the best-known express steam engines, was also featured. Ken Davies and his family has worked on the railway for 3 generations. This Class 8 shunter features their name.
And this one's called Ken Davis. So this is an honour for my family, granddad, father, me, still there. The clock is still ticking on our overall career in the railway, so I'm very proud.
Innovation in rail travel also played a part in this year's celebrations. In August, Great Western Railway attempted to make history using a retrofitted battery-powered train. Great Western Railway's engineering director Simon Green described the achievement.
Today we've broken the record for the longest distance travelled on a single charge by a battery train. We've done just over 200 miles and that's broken the record by quite some distance.
In Paris, an exhibition featured full-scale replicas of the new Orient Express. The installation also marked 100 years of Art Deco design, with visitors able to walk through reconstructed train cars. In South Africa, passengers boarded the Ceres steam train, celebrating with champagne as the locomotive traveled out of Cape Town and through Overberg. In Croatia, travelers celebrated train travel with a wine tasting. What will the next century of railroads look like? That will depend on new technologies and whether enthusiasm for train travel continues. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
And PostNord, Denmark's national postal service, will deliver its last ever letter today as the digital age brings its 400 years of tradition to an end. According to PostNord, letter volumes in Denmark have declined by more than 90% since 2000, while the need for parcel delivery continues to grow each year. The company said most communication now arrives in electronic mailboxes, underscoring the changing habits of consumers. To mark the change, PostNord released a campaign film with its last letter to the public, read aloud by the actress Ellen Helinsko, that explains the end of the letter's role in everyday life in Denmark.
Kære Danmark, så er det her. Vores sidste brev. Bare rolig, det er ikke en regning. Og selvom det kan føles som en afslutning, er det heller ikke et farvelbrev. Det er et nyt kapitel.
And in the UK, a team of clockmakers at Westminster Palace is making sure the iconic Big Ben rings at exactly midnight on New Year's Eve. They've spent weeks preparing for the big day.
This is called the Great Clock of Westminster. Big Ben is actually the bell, and the tower is the Elizabeth Tower. And the Great Clock of Westminster is the thing that makes everything happen. The bit at the back there that's ticking, I call that the heart of the clock. That tells the strike and chime when to work and ring the bells.
We're at the top of the Elizabeth Tower, and I'm stood next to Big Ben, which is the biggest bell in the clock tower, one of 5. We'll be up here working on New Year's Eve, waiting for the fireworks to go off, and our job up here over New Year's Eve is to make sure that the first blow of Big Ben is exactly at midnight.
They make careful preparations to make sure the bells ring exactly at midnight, within thousandths of a second. New Year's Eve will be a stressful evening for the clockmakers, with thousands of cameras aimed at Elizabeth Tower. But they will be able to enjoy the fireworks from one of the best seats in the house. And tennis stars, including Coco Gauff and Casper Ruud, spent today soaking up the local culture of Australia as they prepare for the United Cup. Team USA star Gauff was joined by teammate Taylor Fritz at Perth Beach, meeting lifeguards and playing beach tennis with local children. Defending champions USA are in a group with Spain and Argentina. Elsewhere, Team Norway learned the art of surfing at an urban surf center, with starman Casper Ruud leading the team into the water for some downtime ahead of the competition.
Yeah, I think it's a great event to start the year off. A lot of pressure whenever you're competing for your country, but also I think it takes the pressure off just having like a team environment, something that we don't necessarily always get to do on tour. So yeah, I definitely think last year was one of my favorite events, and I think it'll be the same this year.
It's great always to get to play for USA. It's great to get to play alongside Coco and play in like a team environment. I think it's always really fun. I always feel like I play really well in these kind of events. So yeah, I'm happy to start the year and be back here.
Well, we don't have nice white beaches in Norway, so it's tough for me to do that at home, but it was fun to do it here. And first time out on it's a pool, but it felt like a real wave and good surf, so it was really fun.
The United Cup begins on Friday and will serve as a warm-up for the Australian Open for some of the tournament's big names. All eyes will be on the Rod Laver Arena from January 12th, when the first Grand Slam event of 2026 gets underway. And Shen Performing Arts is about to start its 2026 Asia Tour. The New York-based classical Chinese dance company was welcomed in Taiwan by fans, along with a congratulatory message from Taiwan's president and more than 100 officials. Take a look.
The New York-based classical Chinese dance company aims to revive China's 5,000 years of traditional culture, carrying its mission across the world.
We're really grateful to Taiwan for always being supportive of us over the years and giving us so much support and making us feel very at home here when we perform.
Coming to Asia to perform and being able to return to my hometown makes me feel especially emotional. For me, Shen is not just a performing arts company, but a cultural inheritance and a spiritual mission.
President Lai Ching-te issued a special message congratulating Shen on its performances. Taiwan's foreign minister, legislative speaker, and other central and local government leaders, more than 120 officials in total, also sent congratulatory messages.
When people see our show, they become very clear on what Chinese culture is. It's a very spiritual, deep, traditional culture, and it's very different from what the Communist Party has made of China in modern times.
As Shen approaches its 20th anniversary in 2026, this marks the company's 18th visit to Taiwan. Beginning on December 30th, Shen will stage 33 performances across 7 major cities over the next 2 months. Fans say they are eagerly anticipating the new production.
I'm very excited and really looking forward to this year's new performance. I truly admire them for traveling all the way from New York to Taiwan to revive Chinese culture.
NTD News, Taoyuan, Taiwan.
And as always, if you have any feedback on the show, maybe you'd like to see us cover something in particular, send us an email at news.today@ntd.com. We'd love to hear from you. From round-the-clock news coverage, visit us at ntd.com. We'll cover more news right after this break.
I'm Kevin Hogan, and on behalf of the NTD News Today team, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a joyous holiday season.